recording. So this will be recorded. So again, just to give you all the breakdown of the agenda, that's what I'm going to be covering today. So just to kind of give you all I have a lot of questions about this as far as, will I be eligible for Pell Grants and all that type of stuff. So unfortunately, as a grad student, you are no longer eligible for Pell Grants. It's something that I want you all to kind of really just keep in mind. A lot of the times I have students saying, oh, I'm about to max out my grants. Once you complete your undergraduate degree, that you no longer have to worry about that. That kind of just resets because you've already completed your degree objective. That's the first thing that I want you all to keep in mind. The second thing that I want to keep in mind is that there are some similar opportunities, so some overlaps. So for example, you do still have to file FAFSA as a grad student or California DREAM Act. There are some state grants that are still available. You are still available to apply for student loans. Scholarships are still an option for you, and federal work study is still an option for you. Some funding that's exclusive to grad students are graduate assistantships, fellowships, teaching assistantships, and research assistantships. And so those are paid opportunities that as a grad student you would get a monthly paycheck for working on campus. And it's a little bit different than work study, but it's also very similar in the way that you do get paid once a month and all that stuff. But the opportunities are a little bit more professional. So that's something that I do want to stress that might be a very good professional development opportunity. So one thing I want to just reiterate is federal grants, so Pell Grants are no longer a thing as a grad student. I know that many of you rely on the Pell Grant to fund undergrad programs, but that's something that you're no longer going to be relying on. So I want to talk about, what kind of application is right for you. So if you are a US citizen or other eligible non-citizen, you are going to file the traditional FAFSA form. So that's the applications available on studentaid.gov. That's if you are a permanent resident or a US citizen and you have a valid social security number. If you are a non-citizen who is AB 540 eligible, you're going to file the California DREAM Act application. And so as long as the university that you're applying to has your AB 540 affidavit on file, that's aside from the California DREAM Act application, that's really the only thing you have to worry about. So that's one thing that I want you all to keep in mind. If you, for example, are looking to apply into other schools that are not Cal State Fullerton, then make sure that that new school that you're looking into has your AB 540 affidavit on file. The first thing I want to talk about after that is kind of loans. So what kind of loans are out there? And I always say that loans should be kind of a last resort option for funding, just because there are plenty of other opportunities for students to get funding for grad school. So currently the federal direct unsubsidized loan is the student loan that most students who are going into grad school rely on paying for grad school. So that loan currently, the rate is at 6.54%. The reason why I want to stress that rate is because it is at an all-time high. I think it's the highest that it's been in almost 10 years. In order to make sure that you are eligible for this loan, you have to complete loan entrance counseling, and you have to have submitted a master promissory note. I'll go ahead and show you all where to find that if that's something that you're interested in on the student aid dashboard as well. The other one is a federal direct plus loan for grad students. That one is at 7.54%. This one is a loan that relies on a credit check. So if your credit is not where it should be in order to get qualified for loans, this is something that maybe you might not want to consider. Again, more information is available also on studentaid.gov and also on the Cal State Fullerton website. Other options you might have are private loans, and this also does depend on where you decide to go to school. If you go private versus public, things like that. One thing that I do want every single person to be conscious of is that student loans at the graduate level are unsubsidized. So what this means is that student loans, the interest starts accumulating the second it hits your student accounts. So the reason that this can be dangerous is a lot of students do take out more money than they actually need. And so it's up to you to kind of budget yourself, because you might be offered, for example, $20,000 for an academic year, when in reality, it's only going to cost you $8,000 for the academic year, right? So it's really important for you to budget yourself and not to inundate yourself in debt. So something that I do want to stress, some students take out the maximum amount that they can, and then they, for example, go buy a car, or they go take trips, they go and buy clothes, and it's things that they don't necessarily need, but it's things that they want. And then later on, when they graduate from school, or they stop attending, and they have to pay that back. And the reason why that's important is because later down the road, you might want to be buying a house, right? And so they go and check your credit and they say, oh, you have the student loan. And so, it might come back and bite you. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to be financially, I would say, aware of your decisions now, especially, when it comes to loans. And that's why I say it should be a last resort option. The other one I want to talk about for those of you who might, for example, be dreamers, right, is a California Dream Loan. So the California Dream Loan, in order for you to be eligible for this, you must have the California Dream Act application filed before the March 2nd deadline. So the March 2nd deadline is the deadline for both FAFSA and the California Dream Act application. You have to have an AB 540 affidavit on file with the school you intend on applying. You must be enrolled at least half-time. Half-time enrollment is 6 or more units. You must demonstrate financial need. You must be meeting satisfactory academic progress. You can't have been defaulted on a student loan, and you must complete your master promissory note, loan entrance counseling, loan exit counseling with your university. There are also a couple other things to keep in mind too with the California Dream Loan. The interest rate for the current academic year is at 4.99 APR. One thing that I also want to talk about this loan is that interest will not accrue on this loan so long as you are enrolled at least half-time. Once you drop below half-time enrollment, your interest will start accumulating after 6 months. Say, for example, you stop attending or you graduate, or your enrollment drops below those 6 units, you're going to start accumulating interest after the grace period of 6 months. You can get this loan at both a UC or a CSU. So again, you can decide, oh, I'm going to go to a UC. So that's something that's also an option. However, the maximum amount of the lifetime of the loan you can get is $20,000. So say, for example, you received this as an undergrad. In addition to what you've taken out as an undergrad, you cannot exceed $20,000. So that's cumulative. And annually, you cannot exceed more than $4,000 in the amount that you take out. So that's also something to take into consideration. Again, this is for individuals who are dreamers, who are DACA, who are AB 540 eligible. As I mentioned before, it's really important to be realistic about your financial needs. How much money do I actually need to take out when it comes to student loans? It's important to only think about your tuition, your books, and supplies, gas, and rent. Don't think about, oh, I want to take a trip to Tulum, or I want to take myself out to dinner and eat, lobster boils, right? It's really important to be very realistic because loans ultimately do have to be paid back. And ultimately, if you plan on starting a family, if you plan on buying a house, loan repayments can be cumbersome if you take out more than you can chew. So that's something that I do want to really stress throughout this process. Again, loans are only one of the options you might have in funding your academics. When it comes to student loans, right, once you graduate or once you stop attending, that's for any loan. You have a 6-month grace period before repayment starts. So there is a 6-month grace period with that loan that you can qualify for. So 6 months, say, for example, you were to graduate in May, you have starting November to repay that loan. That's 6 months after graduation. You can also defer, say, for example, you end up for maybe taking maternity or paternity leave, right? And you are out of work for a few weeks. You can defer or go through forbearance during that period of time. However, interest will still keep accruing, but you can go through forbearance during that time and then continue paying it back as long as you notify your lender. You can also do income-driven repayment plans as well. So you don't have to pay back more than you can than you earn in terms of ratio. So they do it in terms of ratio, and I'll show you all how to calculate that on the student aid dashboards, right? So that's also something to take into consideration. I also want to talk about loan forgiveness, because I know that's something that's really a hot topic right now with the Joe Biden and the student loan forgiveness. Unfortunately, that itself has been put on hold because of a federal lawsuit. It's been blocked. However, there are still other um, public loan. There's the public loan forgiveness plan, right? And I'll kind of explain how this one works. So with public service loan forgiveness, and it kind of, for those of you who this is kind of maybe the only funding opportunity you might have, it kind of takes a little bit of the fear away of accumulating student loans. Maybe not fully, but just a little bit. So in order for you to qualify for this one, you must be working for a US federal, state, or local or tribal government. So if you're working for maybe, for example, a college or a university, that would qualify for state government. If you're working for a nonprofit as well, say, for example, maybe you go eventually work for Cedars-Sinai. Cedars-Sinai is a 501c3 nonprofit. Maybe, for example, you want to start your own nonprofit, right? As long as you have a 501c3 filed for that organization, you can qualify for loan forgiveness so long as you've made 125 qualifying payments. And you're working full time. You have to have the direct loans for that. So you can't have private loans. And you have to be on a loan income driven repayment plan. So what that means is if you go through forbearance, say, for example, you go on maternity leave, that doesn't count against you. You don't have to make those payments consecutively. Maybe, for example, you go through a period of unemployment or you go through paternity or maternity leave. That doesn't count against you so long as those 120 payments are made. Maybe, for example, you don't go through any period of forbearance or you don't put off any of those payments, then you just make 120 qualifying payments. That means that you make 10 years worth of payments, which does seem like a long time, but ultimately you can input on the student aid dashboard how long it'll take for you to pay that off or how much you'll pay before you'll get student loans forgiven. If you would account for educational employment, if you were, or educational employment, if you were employed by the state, is if you were employed by, again, state, local, tribal, federal government, if your check was signed by, so yes, Jessica, yes, you would qualify for that. If you were working full time and you were making payments, you have to be making payments during the time you were employed. All right, perfect. So then there's teacher loan forgiveness for those of you who are thinking about going into maybe K-12 education. If you are thinking about going into K-12 education, there's also employment as a full-time, highly qualified teacher. So you would work for 5 complete and consecutive academic years employed at I believe it's called a Title I school. And it can be at an elementary school, a secondary school, or an educational service agency that serves low-income students. Again, these are Title I schools. The loan would basically be forgiven within 5 academic years for qualifying teaching service. So again, these are your options for those of you who are interested in student loan forgiveness. I know this is a lot of information, but it is very useful for those of you who are kind of like, well, what if student loans are my only option? All right. So now I want to talk about scholarships and other similar types of funding, right? So we do have a grad equity fellowship. I'm going to go ahead and let Julie talk about this one because Julie actually does oversee the grad equity fellowship and she can tell you all about it.
Sure. So the Grad Equity Fellowship is for our current grad students. So if you're in the process of applying to grad school or thinking about being a grad student here at Fullerton, this is something that you could apply for either before you enter your first semester as a grad student or as you are a current grad student on campus. Really, the goal of this is to help students get to the finish line, right, of getting their grad degree and giving a little bit of financial help to that. The award is anywhere from $500 to $2,000. It's a pretty simple application. You need to submit 1 letter of recommendation, some essay questions, kind of statement of purpose-y type questions, but they have guided what they want you to discuss. And then the application itself is always due around early May. So we do this every year. And then depending on the applicant pool, some students will get $500 to $2,000 of award. And really you can use that award for pretty much anything that you need during your time in grad school. So there are some requirements that are listed on the screen there. They're listed on our website too. We have a whole funding tab for on our graduate studies website. And so you can look into it a little further to see if this fits for you. Again, deadline for spring 23 is going to be May 2023. Christian put the link to our grad studies website in there. Again, there's that whole funding tab. And so you can take a look at that and feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions about it. Keep in mind that for this upcoming cycle, the deadline in May of 23, if you are planning to start a grad program at Fullerton in fall of 23, maybe you just get your acceptance and you're ready to get started, you can still apply for a grad equity fellowship because you'll be a student in fall of 23. But again, you can always reach out to us if you have further questions about this one.
Thank you. And so one thing I also want to stress is that every Cal State will have some version of the Grad Equity Fellowship. Maybe the requirements will be different or the way that they implement it will be different, but they will have some sort of version of this grant or this fellowship. So I do want to stress that as well. So make sure that you also do your research for other Cal States. This is just how we go forward with the Grad Equity Fellowship. So again, make sure that you do your research a little bit if you're interested in applying to other CSUs. I also want to talk about the Palante Fellowship Program. So the Palante Fellowship Program is actually the fellowship that I oversee. So we award this to students from the College of Engineering and Computer Science, Health and Human Development, Humanities and Social Sciences, and Natural Sciences and Mathematics. In order for you to qualify for this fellowship, you must have your FAFSA application filed or California DREAM Act application filed and demonstrate financial need. You must, again, be a US citizen, permanent resident, or AB 540 eligible. Unfortunately, this isn't, international students do not qualify for this one, and we do award 248 students per cycle. The dollar amount that you receive would be $1,000. You would receive 500 in the fall, 500 in the spring, and the application requires an online application form and one confidential letter of reference from a faculty member on campus. The deadline for this is March 2nd. And it opens up on right when we come back early, right after New Year's. One thing that I do want to also stress is that it does have additional requirements. So you would need to attend meetings. So it is a little bit more involved, but you do get a mentor out of this as well. So there are plenty of other experiences that you do get aside from just the funding. It isn't just, oh, you get $1,000 and you're good to go. You do also get to participate in a cohort of 48 students, and you get to go to professional development meetings. You get a mentor who helps guide you through academic, your academic journey. One thing I want to stress about these two fellowships is that you can only be awarded these fellowships once as during your time as a grad student. So you can't reapply for these. That's one thing that I do want to stress as well. All right. So moving on, I want to talk about the State University Grant, which a lot of students are, I'm pretty sure, eager to know about. Maybe you've never heard of it, or maybe you have and you're not quite sure what it is. So the State University Grant is a funding opportunity for students at the Cal State level. So it is not available for students at a UC or a private school. You must, in order to be eligible for this, you must file FAFSA or the California DREAM Act by the March 2nd priority filing deadline. You must be a California resident or AB 540 eligible. And what this grant covers is the state university fees. So what the state university fees would be, everything, again, the only thing it would not cover, let's start there, would be the fees that are tacked onto your tuition. So for example, the student union fee, the student recreation center fee, the student health center fee, the ASI fee, things like that are what it does not cover. So at Cal State Fullerton per semester, it is about $640 that it will not cover. What this means is that for you, depending on if you are enrolled part-time or half-time or full-time, if you're enrolled half-time, it covers about, I want to say 2,000, I want to say $2,400 or so. If you are enrolled full-time, it covers about 3,800, give or take. I think that's what it covers, to be exact. I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look, but it just does, the only thing it does not cover is the fees. So that's what you would be responsible for. Again, to be eligible for this, you must be enrolled at least half-time, which as a grad student, that is 6 units. Anything above 8 units as a grad student is considered full-time. That's one thing I want to stress. You have to, it will cover a maximum of 125% of your graduate program. So if your program is 60 units long, then you would multiply 60 by 1.25, and that's how many units it would cover. If you're in a program that's 30 units long, then you would multiply 30 by 1.25, and that's how many units it would cover. So that's how you would know, well, this is what it'll cover. I know, for example, as an undergrad, they say, okay, we'll cover 600%. And that's kind of how you would figure that out. Because as an undergrad, you are eligible for Pell Grant, Cal Grant A, Cal Grant B, State University Grant, all those. This is the only type of grant you can get as a grad student. In order to be eligible for this grant, you have to have an EFC of 4,000 or less. One thing that I recommend is that if your EFC is closer to 0, that means that the better it is. And the more likely you are to be eligible for this grant. So again, 4,000 or less, that's kind of the golden number, but the closer you are to 0, the better. So kind of moving forward, I don't know, I want to take just a second to answer any questions that there are about any of the things that I just talked about, and then we can move on to the next portion.
Hi, I have a question. I entered a little late. I am, it's a lot of information and I'm pretty lost. So I'm gonna start grad school, fall 2023. And my question is, I'm planning to get a loan. So when I get a loan, is it like when you get a credit card, like they go through your credit report and it's based on your credit information if they're able to give you the loan, or does it work the same or is it different?
No, it's different. So you're just, as long as you file your FAFSA. So as long as you file, again, the FAFSA form, which I'm going to go over today, that's how you would initiate that process. And everything would go through the university. So there is no bank, there is none of that that your process goes through. I also saw someone that asks how do you become eligible for the state university grant? The same process. As long as you file your FAFSA, that is how you would become eligible for the state university grant. I also saw someone else saying, what is EFC? EFC is the estimated family contribution. I know many of you have been concerned saying my parents make too much money, things like that. As a grad student, you are now considered independent. So even if your parents claim you on their taxes, you know, that's no longer factored into your FAFSA application. So your parents' income is no longer, again, relevant here. So that's something that I also do want to stress. So aside from that, I don't know if there are any additional questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, I literally have been fighting to try to get into your Zoom and I finally figured it out. So I just got in. But my question is, so basically, talking to other people, which I know that I shouldn't be talking to other people other than people that would actually know, they're stating that there is like no financial aid for to get your master's. And I'm seeing, that's why I signed up for this, because I was a little confused. So there is then obviously assistance for that, right? Like, I'm wondering why they were saying that. A couple people have stated.
It could be, you know, that when they entered grad school, maybe they were working full time, and so their estimated family contribution exceeded the 4,000 that I was talking about, and so they weren't eligible for funding. So it could have been a different variety of factors. Just remember that every single person, it is a case by case situation. Not every single person has the exact same situation. So that's one thing that I do want to stress. You know, your specific situation might be different than theirs. It might be that, you know, you're not eligible for the state university grant for the, you know, the reason that maybe your income is too high. Because again, these are need-based funding. So that's one factor that I do want to stress as well. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that when we file it. We're going to go through the FAFSA application in a second.
Okay.
And we're going to go ahead and file it today.
What is the 4,000 that you're talking about?
So at the end of the FAFSA application, when you submit it, it says, congratulations, you filed your FAFSA, your estimated family contribution is, and then it gives you, usually it's about 4 to 5 digits. And so if it's 4,000 or less, that means that basically that's how much your family can contribute to your educational funding. And so the closer it is to 0, usually that means the more eligible you would be for this grant that I have here on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So your parents, Jessica, your parents will not be on your FAFSA no matter what. So EFC is based on your personal income regardless. So even if they claim you on their taxes, they will not be on your FAFSA. All right, so one thing that I want you all to do, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this particular screen, because the next screen, and I'll go ahead and talk just really briefly about it, is the FAFSA application. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The priority deadline for this to file is March 2nd of every academic year. You can go ahead and file a couple of different ways. I'm pretty sure many of you have already filed it at least once before. You'd file it through fafsa.ed.gov or by going to studentaid.gov. Many of you should already have your federal student aid ID, and your eligibility for this is having a US citizenship, eligible non-citizenship such as permanent residency status, and a valid social security number. For the California DREAM Act, which I will not cover today. However, if you do need assistance with the California DREAM Act, you can see Arely Castro in the Titan Dreamers Resource Center, and she can actually help you file it there one-on-one. In order for this, you have to have AB 540. These are the eligibility criteria for AB 540, and I know that it has changed as of recently. I know that they've made amendments to it, so this might be a little bit outdated. So please excuse me if it is. But you do have to have the AB 540 eligible or affidavit on file, and the application is through the California Student Aid Commission of California. So again, priority filing again is March 2nd. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and walk through the application. So Robert, you can make modifications to your FAFSA application, and you can take your mom's income out of the FAFSA form. And I'll go ahead and talk about those as well. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and we're going to go ahead and walk through the application. I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen here in a second. And let's see. So this is where you all should be. I'm going to go ahead and type in this website in the chat. If the chat pops up. Let me see. So that is where you're all going to go ahead and go. And so you all should then be here. So one thing that before we actually start going in, I want to go ahead and log in, right? So I'm going to go ahead and log in using my credentials. Let's see. And you all should be logging in with yours as well. It'll give you this disclaimer. So make sure you all are selecting the proper information, and then it'll probably take you to just making sure you're updating your contact information. I just want you all to not be afraid of what you're seeing in here because everyone's dashboard is a little bit different. This is just mine. And so I know that I've gone to school a little bit longer than many of you have. So I know this might seem a little bit scary, but it does serve a really good purpose because it will allow for me to show you a couple of different things on here. So there's a couple of things that I do want to highlight on here. So if you're looking to take out student loans, if you've never taken out student loans, or if you have, your student aid dashboard will show you a couple different things. Here on this side, on the right-hand side, it'll tell you who your student loan servicer is, which means is who is your actual lender, who holds possession of your student loans, right? Here on this screen, it tells you how much is your student debt, how much do you owe in student loans. So for me, I've gotten my associate, my bachelor's, my master's, and I'm finishing my doctorate. So my student loan balance is a little bit higher than most people. Here's how much I've been awarded in Pell Grants. Again, you can only receive Pell Grants as an undergrad, but there's a couple different things that I also want to go ahead and cover. So here you can do the loan simulator, and this is the first thing I want to cover before I kind of go into the actual application. The reason I want to talk about this is because I've been stressing a lot about the student repayment process, right? So here, you can put, for example, I have a job or I plan to get one soon, and it'll take you through what it'll look like for me to repay back my student loans. And it's a pretty quick process. Again, it's just stimulated. So you can enter here. I'm just going to go ahead and put 50,000 a year with the 5% raise, which is about average nationally per year, right? And it tells me how much of these are subsidized versus how much are unsubsidized. And I'll go ahead and click continue. Would you like to see repayment options if you maintain eligibility for public service loan forgiveness? So I do have eligibility because of my job. So I would like to click yes. So what type of organization do I work for? So I'm going to put just state government because I work in higher education. So I'm going to put state government. So I'm going to put continue. I want to have a low monthly payment. That's for me the most important thing for me is to have a low monthly payment, right? So here it'll tell me that this is going to be how much I pay on average per month until November 2023 before my student loans would be discharged. So before my student loans are forgiven, this is how much I will pay out of my student loans out of the 132 that I owe, and this is how much will be discharged. So again, because of interest and all that stuff. So it's a really great tool for those of you who already have student loans or later down the road, if you do decide to take out student loans and finding that. So there's a couple other things. If you want to take out student loans, you must also fill out what's called the master promissory note. So when you're on your dashboard, so we're going to go ahead and go back to that. So the dashboard here. You must complete the master promissory note, which is basically saying I'm going to pay back my student loans and loan entrance counseling. So these can be found here where it says loans and grants, master promissory note, and loan entrance counseling. So those are two things you have to fill out, right? But right now we're going to go ahead and now complete the FAFSA form. So you should be on this screen now, and we're going to go ahead and log in. So once you're here, you're going to click, I am a student and I want to access a FAFSA form, and we're going to click OK.
I'm sorry. So we click start here.
So you should be clicking where it says FAFSA form on the top, and it should be complete FAFSA form.
Yeah.
And it'll be log in.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And then it'll be, I am a student and I want to complete the FAFSA form. And we'll click on continue. So here, for those of you who are going to start in fall of 2023, make sure you are selecting 2020 to 2023. Here, I've already submitted one, so it's kind of going to be like if I'm making modifications. So it'll show me what my options are. So for the intensive purposes of this application, I'm just going to go ahead and click that I'm making corrections, even though I'm not. But just for you all, so you all can see what the application looks like, I'm going to go ahead and go to the very, very beginning. And showing you all what you all should fill out. So again, make sure that you create your save key. I usually do just 4 digits. So I'm going to go ahead and enter here in this section. I'm not going to go ahead and fill out anything right now. I've already filled this out, but you all should be going in. So, you know, going in, entering your address. I always put my parents' address, but here in the student education, I do want to go ahead and let me see. It won't let me view the chat. So I do, for those of you, someone asked a question in the chat and I can't see it. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Christian, they asked, do we start a new form or renew?
So you can renew. And then so once you enter your information, you're going to enter, you know, your social security, you're going to enter your permanent address, you're going to enter all that information that's relevant to you, your email address, contact information, all that you're going to go ahead and enter. Let me know when you all are caught up, and then I can go ahead and enter or show you all what you're going to enter where it says student education. And actually, if you all can give me a thumbs up when you're all ready for the next part. So I see 2 thumbs up, 3. And then I see in the chat, there's a couple comments. I'm not sure, Julie, if you want to.
One person just asked to slow down just a tad.
Okay.
Is this session going to be recorded and sent to us?
Yeah, so it is being recorded. If you've gotten an email from me and if you see the my email signature has a YouTube icon in it, if you click on that icon, it'll take you to our YouTube channel and you can see this version and you can see prior versions as well.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go. So in the student education section, I'm just going to go ahead and cover this section really quick. What will your high school completion status be when you enter college in 2023-2024 school year? So that's asking about your high school completion status, not your college, so just high school. So if you've received a GED, enter GED. If you've gotten a high school diploma, enter high school diploma. If you've been homeschooled, enter homeschooled, but you have to enter one of these options. So make sure you enter whichever option is relevant to you. And then here in the next question, what it asks you is, what college degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin the 2023-2024 school year? So here in this section, you are going to click on college graduate professional degree. So that includes MBA, MD, PhD, so any master's, any type of degree there. So make sure you are clicking on that one. If you're going for a second bachelor's degree, then click on second bachelor's degree. So again, if you're going for a teaching credential, enter teaching credential, but in most cases, it'll be the college graduate professional degree. I see that there are questions in the chat. If you want to go ahead and just unmute yourselves, you're more than welcome to do so.
No questions right now, Christian.
All right, perfect.
I'll let you know.
All right. So here it says, will you have your first bachelor's degree before you begin the 2022-2023 or 2023-2024 school year? So in all cases, you should select yes if you're going to start in 2023-2024, because again, in order to start grad school, as I've mentioned in prior workshops, you do have to have your bachelor's degree in hand. So you will select yes in this section for those of you who are going to start in the next academic year. So you'll select yes. And then in this last question of this section, what will your college grade level be when you begin 2023-2024 school year? So for you all, because it's your first year, you're going to put first year college graduate professional. So again, you're going to put first year. For the next time that you file, so next academic year, not this upcoming one, but the next one, you're going to select continue. But for this time, for today, you're going to put first year. But I'm putting continuing because that's what would apply to me. So make sure you put first year college graduate professional. So that second to last option. Are you interested in being considered for work study? So you can put yes, no, don't know. Again, whichever one you're interested in, you can select. And we're going to go ahead and making sure that you are selecting, entering your driver's license number if you have one. It'll ask, are you a foster youth, or were you a foster youth or were you in the foster care system at any time? You can put no or yes if you were. And then what is a highest school completed by parent 1 and parent 2? So again, make sure that you're filling those out, and I'll give you all about a minute to go ahead and fill that portion out, and then we can go ahead. Once I see those thumbs up, we can go to the next section. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I see.
Can
One person's asking for a little more time.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, mine doesn't say grad school. It says first bachelor degree, second. I'm finishing December this so I'll have it in the fall when I start grad school, my degree, but it doesn't say that on my FAFSA for 23-24.
So which December will you have it?
This is my last semester, so I have to put in an extension, I guess, because I have to put up my grade point average for
Mhm.
the spring. I want to stay in still.
Okay, so you're still going to, on my screen where it says what college degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin 22 or 23 or 24, right?
Right.
So I'm not sure if you see my sections right here.
Yeah,
It should be the second to last option.
okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And let me know when you all are good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section. So the next section is going to be your high school. So it's going to ask you to enter your high school information or to verify. Many of you should have already entered this from when you were in undergrad, so you won't really have to enter anything. So this should already be accurate information. Are there any questions about this section? All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next section. All right, hopefully if you need me to slow down, just let me know, okay? And then here it's going to be asking you about colleges. So one thing that I recommend you doing is, even if you haven't started applying, add every single school that you're planning on applying to. Even if you haven't submitted an application, it's just going to make it more easy for you in the long run. There is no penalty for you submitting an application to a school you never apply to. However, it does hurt you when you submit an application after the FAFSA deadline. So if there's a school you're planning on applying to, just submit the application for FAFSA now rather than after March 2nd. If you decide to apply at the last minute, even if you're just thinking about it, just make sure you add the school. So again, just make sure you add it now. So you can always come back to this too and add them later. But again, you can add more schools. So say, for example, you're thinking about Cal State Long Beach. I've already added Fullerton there, but I'm going to add Long Beach. And I'll go ahead and do a search, right? And so here it's giving me, let's see, I'm going to scroll down because I'm not seeing them. So it might take a little while. Let's see, and I'm going to go to second page. I don't see it on the second page.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I am gonna graduate May 2023. I'm in the process of applying for grad school. Should I start already, like the FAFSA?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Here we go. So California State University in Long Beach. And I'm gonna click continue. It's gonna ask me what my housing plan is, whether it be on campus with parent or off campus. I'm gonna select off campus and click on next section. So if I go to, again, school selection, again, add every single school you intend on applying. Let me know when you all are ready to go to the next section and give me a thumbs up.
I'm confused on one part. It's on the part. So I'm planning, well, I already applied to Cal Poly Pomona, but there's Cal Poly University San Luis Obispo.
Mhm.
That's not the correct one, right? It's just the California State University Polytechnic.
So when you select California, you're gonna type in Pomona.
Yeah.
And then type in California State and click search. And then here, let's see.
Yeah, because two pop up.
And see here on the second page, so type it the same way that I did. So California, type in Pomona and type California State. And then on the second page, you'll see California State Polytechnic University, Pomona.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, so once you get to the next section, it'll be on the dependency status. So here, if you're single, then you'll put single. If you're married or remarried, you'll enter remarried or married. If you're separated, you'll put separated, divorced, or widowed, etc. So put whichever one applies to you. In my case, I'm putting single because I've never been married. I'm single. Do I have children? This includes adopted, foster, and stepchildren. I do not have children. If in your case you have children, make sure that you enter them. So I, again, do not have children. Do you support anyone else? Say, for example, maybe you're a caregiver who has someone that you support, dependent other than your children or spouse, like a sibling or an older relative that you care after, then you can put yes. In my instance, I only have one individual that I look after. Here, for example, it says you only have one person in your household. At the bottom here, it'll tell you if you are considered independent or dependent. So I'll go ahead and give you all a second to reach this section, and then you all can ask questions if you have them about this section. I know I had someone here who had asked about their parents and saying like, oh, I entered information about my parents. So here, where's this independent student status? Do you want to answer questions about your parents? You're going to select no, because you don't have to. So I don't know who it was earlier that had said that they had questions about filling in information about their parents. Just make sure that you select no in that section. All right. And then for those of you who are in the section, you all can give me a thumbs up and we can go to the next section.
Christian, there's a question as far as for the parent section, and they're asking, is there a specific reason why you want to select no versus yes?
Because the FAFSA application doesn't need your parents' information. You're considered independent as a grad student. So you don't need to enter that information. It makes the application actually a little bit more difficult for you to enter their information. You just simply do not need it. It's not relevant to your financial situation, especially if you're considered independent. So even if your parents claim you on their taxes, even if they pay for your rent, even if they pay for your cell phone bill or your car, you do not need to enter your parents' information.
I have a question. For that second question, if we support anybody, do they need to be reflected on our taxes as dependents?
So if you support them, yes, usually you will, because you're going to pull your information from the IRS website anyways. So again, just make sure that you are able to claim them on your taxes.
Okay,
If
thank you.
Yeah, if you can claim them, then yes, you would put them.
Okay.
And you all can give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go to the next section. All right, I see quite a few thumbs up, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section. If you have questions about this section, we can always come back to it too. So since we aren't entering parent information, you can see these sections, we skipped over them. They're not going to be entered any information up here. And we're now on student financials. So here on student financial status or student tax filing status, I've filed my taxes. You will select whichever one for 2021 that you that's relevant to you. If you did not file or not going to file, you will select this one. I've already completed mine. If you will file, then you put will file. If you're not going to file, select not going to file. My information was transferred from the IRS and I filed a single. So here it says transferred from the IRS, transferred from the IRS, transferred from the IRS. It should give you an option to transfer your information from the IRS website. And if you have questions here, what does it mean, the IRS data retrieval tool? So make sure you're selecting the IRS data retrieval tool. Does anyone have questions about this?
Yes. On the, I get SSI. Do I put that in on the wages disability? I didn't file, I don't have to file, I don't have no requirement. So do I leave that empty?
So where it says student tax filing status, you'll put not going to file.
Yes.
And then where it says student earned or income earned from work, you would put you would put 0, right? Because you earned 0 wages,
Right.
salaries, and tips.
Yes.
Child support you paid, you put 0. Earnings from work under cooperative education program, you put 0. Taxable earnings from need-based employment programs such as federal work study, you would put 0. Student untaxed income, child support received, you put 0. Housing, food, and other living allowances paid to members of the military, you put 0. Payments to tax deferred pension, you put 0. Veterans, let's see, veteran non-education benefits such as disability, death, pension, or dependency, and indemnity compensation and or VA educational work study allowances 0. Other untaxed income not reported such as workers' compensation, disability benefits, etc. That's where you put that information.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any additional questions?
I have a question. So, usually my parents file my taxes. So how would I get like the tax information, or what would that be to directly put it into the form?
So there should be, it should give you the option to do the data retrieval tool.
Okay. Is there any information I need from the taxes to log into that?
So when you enter the taxes, it'll say what address was entered for your tax information. So your parents should receive a form that says what address they used, and it needs to be exact. So that's the information you're going to need to put on the data retrieval tool.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Are there any additional questions? Whenever you're ready to go, please give me a thumbs up. All right, so I see a couple people who are ready to go that they've already done the data retrieval tool. So that's great. And again, if you for some reason get stuck on this, we can always set up a meeting and we can kind of go back to this, right? So once you enter this portion, that's basically it. You would just sign and submit this. All right, so in your case, you would sign and submit. It should give you a screen where you would sign and submit. So it should take you to a screen, you enter your information and you would sign and submit. In my case, I didn't make any modifications, but then once you sign and submit, you are on this screen. So let me know when you have signed and submitted it. And you can give me a thumbs up. So if you scroll down, you'll see here estimated expected family contribution. So you can see here expected estimated family contribution minus 6,047. So if I was going to enter grad school, I would not be receiving the state university grant. So just to kind of give you all some perspective on that, on how that would work. Again, remember how I said 4,000 or less, and the closer it is to 0, the better. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I want to go back to the slideshow really quick and just, let's see, we've gone through all of these. And if you all can just scan this QR code and just take the post-workshop survey, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. If you have additional questions, you all can stick around and go ahead and ask me. I'm more than happy to take any additional questions. And then I see some messages in the chat really quick. So for the state university grant, you don't need to apply for anything extra. The state university grant will automatically have your information applied to it from the school's financial aid office. You don't need to do anything extra. Just by applying for the FAFSA, you will be able to be, to submit your information for it. It's not anything extra you need to do. The save key, it'll last as long as the next time you come back. So as far as workshops for scholarships, that's something that maybe the financial aid office would organize. I'm not quite sure, just because again, I'm not the financial aid office. I don't know if I know that they do host workshops sometimes. There is a scholarship application that you can access through your Titan portal that will open up after New Year's as well.
I put a link in for the financial aid office. They are having some webinars for scholarships that you'll see there on that link. And then as Grad Studies Center, we also did a workshop recently about kind of where to get started with scholarships, and you can see that on our YouTube channel. So I put that in the chat as well. Both are really great resources to note.
And then thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And Julie, thank you so much for helping co-facilitate this workshop.
I have a question. I'm doing the dependency studies right now,
Mhm.
and it says, would it be best if I provide the information for my parents, or
No,
just
you don't, you won't need it. So it says where it
okay?
says, would you like to provide it? It says you would click no. You simply just don't need it.
Okay, it's just I'm unable. Okay.
Yeah, so you would click no.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If we were to have another question, do we contact you?
So if you have another additional question, I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. And you can go ahead and send me an email. We can set up an appointment and then we can go from there.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.